James Gall, God Encounters Ministries, and I do want to say a few comments about today's Super Bowl win by the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, I am wearing red. And in the background, you will find a oil painting of an eagle. Obviously, I'm intentional. Today is an unusual day. It is obviously 2/2/2020. Today, it was Andy Reid's 222nd win as a coach. Today, 50 years of Jubilee. Since the Kansas City Chiefs that I grew up with, watching, following, won. 50 is a Jubilee. Prophet Bob Jones, multiple times, with multiple people, rehearsed words about when the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the way I heard it, remembered it, was win the big one. And with others, he used probably the language, different language of the Super Bowl, that it would be a sign of revival beginning. Some of us were given different pieces. Sean Bowles apparently was given a piece about apostolic chiefs. I'd actually never heard that part, but I believe that Sean did. Others heard other pieces. Because the way the prophetic works is that we see in part, we know in part, we prophesy in part. It is partial, it is progressive, and it is also, at times, conditional. And so with all of us, we know a part now, we know a part later. We get more as it goes along, and the narrative unfolds. So there is multiple reasons why different ones have a little different slant, because we each had a different relationship with seer, prophet Bob Jones. I'm sure Rick Joyner has a lot in his treasure chest. I know Mike Bickle does. Stacy Campbell did research from the IHOP history and has it documented about this Kansas City Chiefs prophecy being a sign of beginnings of end-time revival. I remember it being stated to me conversationally, because I walked with Bob very closely in those years, that it would be a sign of the healing of the heart of the land, the heartland. I always looked at things honestly, even then, that the words were not isolated words to only one city, but there was multiple applications of Shiloh, as an example, multiple applications of 24/7, 365. I am so grateful for Mike Bickle at IHOP, for him being such an incredible, faithful steward of these prophetic words of Bob Jones, Paul Cain, John Paul Jackson, and maybe a few others. Do I have a part to play in this history? Yes. We each have our part. We each have our role. We are not in competition. We are in divine cooperation. So I stand with Bob Hartley, who served Bob with faithfulness and diligence when Bob went through a restorative season. So does Bob know some things that some of the rest of us don't? Yes, because of his relationship. I knew things in the very early years, and I didn't always ask all the questions. I listened. To then have my own place of like, I wonder what that means. journal it, pray on it, forget it sometimes, and then have it still rumble around on the inside of me. I believe that this is a sign. On February 2nd, on 2020, I believe that this is a sign of the 222nd win by Andy Reid. I believe it's a sign this is my earthly father's birthday on 2/2/1924. For me, this is a good news day. This is not a time for us to say, oh, but God doesn't care about things like, no. This is a time to rejoice because God is interested in the things you are interested in. So I want to rejoice with the Kansas City Chiefs that they had a come from behind victory with a young quarterback who has faith and praise. And I want to thank the Lord for the stewards of the words from over the years. People like Mike Bickle, Bob Hartley, Stacy Wesley Campbell, Julie Meyer, the IHOP community, Rick Joyner, probably Ricky Skaggs, and a whole lot of others, Bobby Connor, that were all deeply impacted by the words of this unusual seer prophet, eagle, Bob Jones. I was impacted like many others. And I want to rejoice on my father's birthday that today the nation is turning red. Today is a sign. This nation is turning red. This is a parable, I am saying. This nation is turning red. We shall be washed in the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ. There's a whole lot more that's in my heart that I would like to share, but that's probably enough for today. By the way, every day is the day of salvation. Every day is an open opportunity for you, your family, and your sphere to come into revival. That God gives signs to encourage us in life's journey. This is James Gall, God Encounters Ministries, and I endorse this message.